Hey, I'm back. Yeah, I didn't do a video yesterday because, well, I was reading yesterday, that's right. And in fact, I was reading right now, and I was like, I really gotta stop. I gotta do a video. So, today's video is actually gonna be volumes 3, 4, and actually a bit of 5. Actually, I completed the Hunter exam arc. Yeah, so the first kind of major arc of Hunter x Hunter, it's about like 38 chapters or something. Um, I guess I'm just going to talk about that as a whole. Um, Volume 3 has them on what is it, Zavi Island, I believe. And it's a really actually probably my favorite of the Hunter exam challenges or tests, I guess you could say, where they each draw a card and then it says the name of the person they have to hunt. So they have to collect these badges, right? And so if they get a randos badge, that's 1 point. If they get their targets badge, I believe it's 3 points. And you get 6 points, you are taken off the island after I think it's like a week or a few days, I forgot. So of course, Gon gets Hisoka's, and the others are kind of a secret. In fact, most of them have discarded their badges so that they're not hunted on the spot, which is pretty smart. And there is so much that happens in this one fight, or I guess section, I would say, that it is actually very profound, and there is much, much, much to talk about. One thing I want to say is I mentioned how Nen is kind of teased early on in a way that we don't know that it's Nen, but it's very clearly laying the foundation. I believe it's either right before or right after, I forgot. But at some point during this section, I believe it's Netero or Stance themselves, both of them, I'm not sure. Um, One of them says that these candidates have very strong aura, which if you know Hunter x Hunter, if you know Nen, oh, I just realized you can kind of see Oberon spinning over there. Yeah, that's a little Oberon plushie. Anyways, aura is a really important thing for Nen, and classifying your Nen, and they're already saying it, and actually we can kind of interpret certain powers as being sort of Nen related that we don't really know yet. Characters can kind of sense the strong bloodlust of others. That's probably referring to their aura as well. And I'm going to say that Gon, I know Gon is attuned with nature and forests, but it's pretty remarkable that he evades not only Hisoka but also Illumi. I forgot the name of his disguise at this point of the story. I'm just going to call him Illumi. Uh, but he evades both of them pretty much the whole time until he reveals himself to Hisoka. And I wonder if it's Gon entering a state of Zetsu that he's unaware of at this point, because it's pretty remarkable that he could evade both of them, especially Illumi, who is, he's a Zoldyck. Like they're a bloodthirsty group of people. So that's pretty that's pretty impressive. Something else. This is unrelated. I mean, tangentially related, but I wonder if when or if Gon ever makes it to the Dark Continent, I wonder if that attunement he has with nature will actually help him, because we know that anyone who enters the Dark Continent are basically cursed, and the Dark Continent will send a calamity their way as a way of saying, hey, humans, don't come here. We don't want you to mess with our ecosystem. But Gon is very peaceful when it comes to nature and animals. I wonder if he would actually be accepted in the Dark Continent, especially, like I said, guys, spoilers. I will probably bring things up in the future of the series, and I'm going to right now. If you are not, at the very least, caught up with the anime material, this is going to be a big spoiler, so stop right now. Okay, especially that Gon is Nenless right now. Um, yeah, that would be interesting if to compromise to compensate for him not having Nen, he has some kind of attribute of the Dark Continent. I think that'd be pretty cool. Okay, I've gotten way off track. Let's get back. Okay, Okay. So something else that in a way is kind of set up. I mean, this is a little loose, but I think the seeds are there because it's very clear that Togashi is very conscious about the scale and progression of this series. But one of the things, again, spoiler for this is actually a spoiler for anime onlys, but anyways, in this fight, in this section, there's the sequence with the trapper. I forgot his name, but Leorio is like dead set on getting this guy. So he goes into this cave, and well, this other hunter is there stuck, and it's basically like, oh, you fall into this guy's trap. And what this guy did is he lured a bunch of snakes into this cave and died, but the kind of charm he has over the snakes is still present. I really wonder if there is more to this guy and his snake charming than what appears on the surface, because it kind of sounds like Nen to me. I don't know if anyone can clarify this, and if that's the case, I think this is the first example of post-mortem Nen, which is a concept that is not even formulated until the Heaven's Arena fight between Hisoka and Corolla Lucifer. That has not happened in the anime, where Hisoka restarts his heart by commanding his rubber Nen before the fight to or jumpstart it if he were to, or when he would die, because the whole thing is he knew he was going to die. It was very unfair fight. So that's seen also later with what's her name, Carmilla, one of the princes, one of the 12 princes. She also has a post-mortem Nen in the form of what is it, cat's name, black cat something. Basically, if she dies, she conjures up this giant cat monster that kills the killer and then harvests their life essence and then puts it back in her, and she comes back to life. So that's post-mortem Nen. So when you there are Nen where when you die, it really activates kind of like the unseen potential of it, and it's extremely powerful. And I really wonder if this is an example of post-mortem Nen. If it's not post-mortem Nen, it is post-mortem technique, and that's really cool. I want to believe that it was an idea that Togashi was kind of planting in our heads without us even knowing. So yeah, it's a great scene. I mean, it's very important for Leorio as well, because you have this guy who's kind of a sleazeball and hasn't really proven himself, and so he's like, well, I gotta get my prey, basically. And he goes in here, but it turns out to be this trap, and Gon ends up having to save them by tanking all of these snakes to grab the antidote that he logically assumed would be on the guy, because he figured, well, if he's a snake tamer, if he uses snake poison, he's probably gonna have an antidote, right? It just makes sense. And he was right. Um, Not really much else to say. I mean, it's just it's a great sequence. It's very thrilling, very direct, you know. Um, but there's a possibility that we get Zetsu and postmortem Nen, which is very exciting. So after this, we get Trick Tower. Wait, what am I saying? Am I going crazy? Did I talk about Trick Tower yet? I feel like I did. Okay, hold on. That's right. Okay, I'm sorry. Not Trick Tower. The tournament. That's what I was thinking. So after this, they're taken and they're brought to this tournament, right? And Netero has this kind of interview process with everyone, and it's pretty kind of shocking that he interviews Hisoka, and Hisoka's basically just like, yeah, I just want to kill, and hunters can pretty much get away with it, right? And Netero's just kind of like, yeah. So, I mean, you're gonna see this a lot in this series, that there is a significant amount of moral grayness, right? That even our heroes are not exactly the best people. I mean, we saw Kurapika freaking rip a guy's heart out and crush it in front of him. Not Kurapika, I'm saying Killua. And then, speaking of Killua, we also, like I said before, the scene where he just slices and dices those two guys on the Zeppelin. It's pretty crazy. So, I mean, the fact that Netero just kind of accepts that, like, yeah, hunters can kill, like, pretty much with little consequence. I mean, it's not super surprising, but it's still like as a reader, it's a little shocking, right? And then they have this whole process where they interview them and they kind of gauge them. And it turns out that there were secret hunter uh, association people that were kind of watching everyone during this whole time. And because of all this data, they basically make this bracket. But it's kind of weird because it's actually that um, if you like the losers proceed, so it's actually like you get more chances, which is kind of interesting. And it's like if you win, you win. My gosh. Okay. So we get Hanzo versus Gon, and this fight isn't really special. If I were to be honest, it's just kind of reinforcing what we already know about Gon. That he's very stubborn, but it's still a powerful scene where for like 3 hours Hanzo is just beating Gon into the ground, and every time he gets back up, he just beats him again, you know, and it's kind of shocking, right? And so the whole thing though is that he kind of is looking for this determination, but not the determination of just, oh, I want to win and be a hunter. No, what happens is he's threatening. At one point, he breaks Gon's arm, and Gon's still trying to get up. And then he threatens to cut a limb off, but Gon actually gets the upper hand, and he kind of has these negotiations where he's like, no, 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 you can't do that, because then I'll bleed out. And the whole thing is, Netero said, if anyone gets killed, the killer is disqualified, and everyone else is going to automatically win, right? So he's like, no, 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 don't, you can't do that, because then you're not going to win, right? And so it's like this whole thing. And eventually Hanzo's just sick of it, and he's about to impale Gon in the head, and Gon's completely neutral about it. He doesn't even flinch, and he's like, I'm not standing down because what I'm fighting for is the chance to see my father. And it's like, wow. And Hanzo actually gives up. He says, I can't beat your determination, essentially, and he's done. And Gon passes out, and then in kind of a cool subversion, Gon wakes up, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you've been out for a while. The tournament's over, and all of your friends won except for one." And it turns out it was Killua. So then we get this flashback of what happened, and it's actually pretty complex what happened, where Illumi reveals his secret identity, right? Which doesn't really go over well with Killua. And it turns out that they are brothers. They are from the same family, the Zoldyck family. And it's crazy because Killua in this whole arc, he kind of has this complex, and this is especially true after he sees Hanzo versus Gon, where he's kind of like, man, I'm not like Gon, right? Like, in a way, Gon's kind of getting, in a way, like the spotlight. So then Illumi comes and he just completely is trying to break him down. But Killua says, like, I don't want to be an assassin, I just want to be a kid. And more than that, I want to be Gon's friend. And that's it. And, like, Illumi just cannot compute that. And it's very profound. And there's actually a quote here that I wanted to read that Illumi says. He says, "There's no fire in you, just darkness. It sustains you, drains you of any desires. Your only joy is in causing death, and even that is fleeting." And it's just like, man, it really is dark. I mean, and we haven't even seen real glimpses of what Killua's upbringing is like. But remember, he's 12 years old, and he's been an assassin basically this whole time. He says, I've never had a chance to be a kid. It's like really great. And then ultimately Illumi wins. He kind of seemingly psyops Killua. He just breaks him, makes him snap. And when Leorio is gonna fight Badoro, Killua just comes in and kills him. And then says, you know what, I'm not gonna be a hunter, I'm giving up my stupid dream, I'm going back to my family, right? and it's like it's very shocking, it's very off-putting, and it causes Kurapika and Leorio to contest the results. They go to Nenoro, and the Kurapika's like, well, he had to have been brainwashed or something, but then Leorio suggests that Killua probably did that to just make Leorio pass because Leorio was his friend and he owed him a lot, which adds to Leorio also because Leorio is constantly trying to get a chance to prove himself and he keeps kind of getting undercut. But to be fair, Netero steps in right here and kind of says, no, Bedoro and Leorio were pretty evenly matched. So there's a lot of ambiguity, but I think Gon nails it when he says, oh my gosh, I forgot what he said to Illumi, but he basically is like, you like, what does he say? He says like, he basically says you've like imprisoned his dream or something. That's like, by taking the dream away, you basically are mind controlling him. And it's very true. I mean, it's pretty clearly Kurapika is reluctant about this. And then Illumi reveals to Gon after Gon breaks his arm just by just squeezing it real tight. Illumi reveals, like, well, this is stupid. Like, you haven't earned the right to be his friend. Gon's basically like, well, you haven't earned the right to be his brother. And so Illumi reveals where their mansion is, but he's kind of like, you're not gonna win. Like, we are the Zoldyck clan, you know. So we're already setting up that kind of mini arc, right? And then also, we also get, and this kind of goes with Leorio and Kurapika contesting with Killua, and we also get a scene with Gon talking to, I believe it's Stance about like getting the badge itself, that maybe they don't feel like they deserved it. I mean, Gon, all he did was just take a bunch of punches for hours, didn't really fight. And then Leorio and Kurapika, pretty much everyone, Hanzo and, oh my gosh, what's the archer's name? Poco? Something like that? Where, they all kind of won by default. And, Netero's basically like, well, you have your badge, and the way you earn it is by like choosing what you're going to do, right? Like you can't just say, I don't think I earned this badge, and then the hunter associations can be like, oh yeah, you're right, and they just take it from you. It's like, no, it's a mindset thing, you know. You got to prove to yourself that you are worth it. And then it's actually revealed at the very end of this arc, the hunter exam is not quite over. And if you've seen the anime or you've read ahead, you know what's coming up. It is an incredible section of Hunter x Hunter, and it's where we're going to start getting a lot of the world building, a lot of the power system is going to start coming together. So the next video will be very great. I'm really looking forward to getting to talk about that. I should have probably rewatched my Volume 2 video, because this is what happens when you skip a day, but did I talk about the rest of Trick Tower? I don't know if I did. I should have done my research. Well, I'll just go over something I really liked about Trick Tower just in case. That, the scene where Leorio is just kind of gambling with the prisoners and wasting all of their time, basically. But there's that great moment where, the guy that, Kurapika fought, the one with the fake tattoo, Leorio makes a bet that that guy's not actually dead and that he's faking it, and the guy actually is faking it. He's starting to get a little nervous, and so Leorio, it's like, okay, it's not enough to bet that he's alive. Now he's gonna say like, I bet that he's gonna wake up, and he's about to like throw him off the edge. The guy immediately is like, okay, I'm awake. Leorio's like, well, duh, I'm a doctor. Like, I could tell by the slight movements in your eyelids that you were not dead. I just love that part. And I also love that when they get to the section where they're supposed to like vote for either the long easy route or the short hard route, but if you do the short hard route, not all of them can make it. And they're kind of like have them set up to fight and kill each other because the room is full of weapons. But they actually find a compromise where they do the long route up to a certain point and then just break through the walls into the short route. And it's like, you know, whatever makes you win, you know? And I love how they're like, how do you get that idea? And Gon's just kind of like, well, other people were breaking down walls, so like, why couldn't we? You know, I don't know if I talked about the rest of Trick Tower, so I'm also going to say this. I mentioned it earlier in the video, but there's that part where Killua just rips the dude's heart out. It's so insane, especially because we get this hype from Leorio of just like, Killua, do not fight this guy. Like, I'm okay with losing the Hunter exam if it means you don't die from this guy, because this guy was a mass murderer, and he would just like squeeze people so hard that they just die. All of that, and then Killua just grabs his heart out. And not only that, but Killua was like, oh yeah, I'm not that skilled at this. That's why I left a lot of blood. Like, if my dad were to do it, he would do it completely bloodless. It's just like, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Something else, speaking of Leorio, is Leorio has, like, it's easy to kind of dislike him, I guess, early on, just because he's so, like, greedy or whatever, but he has, like, really great moments during the Hanzo and Gon fights, where he's getting very angry because he's just kind of witnessing this horrible thing happening, and he's kind of like, this is unfair. Like, how about you try someone your own size, right? Fight me instead. And it's funny that Leorio is actually kind of a moral anchor for this series, and he really grows into that role quite literally during the election arc, where if you know where his character goes, you know what I'm talking about. It's very, very awesome. Speaking of future character arcs, Hanzo and I feel so bad for forgetting the other guy's name, Poco or something. Look that up. Poco, that's it. So, Hanzo and Poco, they seem like kind of throwaway characters, but they're actually pretty significant later on. I mean, Poco has, a very memorable moment, I'll just say, during the Chimera Ant invasion, and then Hanzo is present all the way up to the Succession War right now. So that's pretty cool. I mean, these characters that could have just been kind of nothing, but it's Togashi, so there's going to be some kind of setup to that. Yeah, I'm still a little froggy in my throat, but not as bad as I have been. But anyways, that's pretty much it, I guess, for this video. I love this section. I mean, that's why I read these 2 volumes, and I would have kept going, because it's just, this series it gets so good so fast. I mean, as I said before, volume 2 is kind of like my least favorite, probably in the whole series. So the fact that it's just like uphill from here, essentially, is so exciting, especially because we're getting not only the tower, right, the Heaven's Arena, but we're also getting the Zoldyck mansion kind of arcs happening. So I'm really excited for that, because that's really where this series, I mean, it already kind of came into its own. It's just in a way that you probably didn't really realize, but this is where it like really does find a unique identity. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, no, it definitely will be a video tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe I'll do more multi-volume. I feel like I probably could have done 2 separate videos, but I mean, we'll see. One Piece, it was 3 volumes. I just think that as Hunter x Hunter goes on, these volumes do get denser, and so I kind of like want to set up that 1 volume, because especially with like Succession War, I'm really gonna need it. Like, I could even probably do multi-part videos. We'll see when we get there. All right, that's all for today. Happy hunting.